Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars. Hey everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars.
The show that takes you through every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to today.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm not going to break.
Perfect. I already broke.
I'm Ryan.
We were getting crazy with some pasta terms.
Yeah.
I don't know
You said
what
ready
that was.
spaghetti, and we were trying to find some other terms that could fit like ready spaghetti.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, we've opened Pandora's box.
We
and
did.
There's some things that are never going to be put back in there.
Yeah.
We're talking about sentimental value.
We are. This is cool. Our recording session today has been both the international features that also crossed over into the Best Picture features.
Yes.
We just got done talking about Secret Agent. Check out that episode if you haven't. I thought it went well.
Yeah, I did too. I had to do kind of the thing that I'll use as a reference is like in Eyes Wide Shut, or whenever you're at like a masquerade party, you have to kind of like hold up your mask.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do through the second half of that pod, was just me hold up the pop filter whenever we spoke.
Yeah. If you guys don't know like the legacy that was created with this pop filter from the last episode, boy, howdy, you're in for a treat.
And I have, this is for all of my born before 1995 fan base, I've MacGyvered this stand pretty well with some tape to make sure that it doesn't fall. And I think we were getting there.
Yeah.
I think we got it.
When you listen to podcasts, do you like live for the inside jokes and like the little gags and bits that develop over time?
Oh, totally.
I always hope that if we're ever lucky enough that someone makes like fan art of us, that you are built with a busted pop filter.
I really hope that's the truth. Built with a busted pop filter sounds like the name of my autobiography, by the way. Just hit the mic again, so we're off to a good start.
Perfect. All right, so Sentimental Value, directed by Joachim Trier, starring Renate Rensvi as Nora, Inga Ibsdottir Lilius as Agnes. They are sisters. Their father is played by Stellan Skarsgård. His character's name is Gustav. And then Elle Fanning as Rachel Kemp.
Yes. So just one minor note. I do believe Renate Rensvi is correct. I've heard a lot ever since this movie came. Okay, let's start again. Worst Person in the World was also directed by Joachim Trier and starred Renate Rensvi. So
Yes.
She has been around, but obviously this movie, Sentimental Value, is getting a bit more public attention than Worst Person in the World did. So she is doing more of the rounds. I've heard Renate Rensvi. Very pretty name to say. She has corrected that it is Renate Rensvi is the correct way to say her last name. So I believe Renate is okay. If we're trying to like really get perfect with the dialect, I believe it might be Renate, but Renate is okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's okay for her. She said it's cool, so I'm going to let her rock with it.
Yeah, she was texting earlier. She was like, hey,
She's like, this is tight.
just get on with the podcast, guys.
Is that pop filter broken still? Yeah, she's listening. Yeah, you're right. And I want to go ahead and start by saying really, really excited to be talking about 2 international features with you. So cool recording session for us to do.
A rarity for this to show up in the Best Picture landscape.
Yep. And I kind of wish that we had more time to talk about It Was Just an Accident, not third, but another film that was nominated for international film that I would love the time to talk about.
Yeah.
Hello, potential bonus episode for the Patreon. But I'm very thrilled to be talking about this one. I don't want to lay my cards on the table just yet, but very, very excited. You're right about everything you mentioned here. This is the international feature from Norway. The nominations are as such. Picture, obviously nominated for Best Picture here. International feature, it was a Norway representation. Director for Joachim Trier. Original screenplay was Joachim Trier and Eskil Vogt. Actress, Best Actress is nomination for Renate Rensvi. Supporting actor for Stellan Skarsgård. Supporting actress for both Inga Ibsdottir Lilius and Elle Fanning. And film editing for Olivier Bouget-Cot. So I'm really excited about 9 nominations for this, man.
Yeah.
This is really, really strong. Previously, we talked about The Secret Agent and how that had 4 nominations. 9 nominations is really, really interesting, mostly because we kind of made a joke before the pod started that usually we'll run through the nominations and we'll run through the cast. We kind of did both with like the nominations.
Yeah.
Because the cast really is widely nominated. Everyone best actress to the 3 supporting nominees. Those really are the 4 main characters in this story. So very cool to have A, an international feature in Best Picture, and B, can't remember if I said 1 or A, B, going to be specifically having that cast nominated so much.
Totally. And interesting, just want to point out, no casting nomination for this one.
You know what? Let's go ahead and throw the word Rob in there. Snub. Like, I do think there's a guy named Rob who should have been nominated for casting.
I just thought of Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20.
Yeah. If I liked Matchbox 20 more, maybe I'd throw a song out there, but I just completely blanked on any song they ever had. 3 a.m.
Yeah. There's a reference.
And I've been lonely. There you go. That's all I know.
I don't think... Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
the continuation.
Isn't that right?
We are silly,
We're
goofy today.
Yeah, this is definitely the second recording of the day. But it's funny that we're being a little silly because this is really, I'll just go ahead and say, probably one of my favorites on this list of nominees.
Yeah, you really like this.
Let's go through the synopsis real quick. So we mentioned that Renate Reinsve and Inga Ipsdotter Lilius play sisters, and they have a Hollywood, well, not Hollywood, but they have a film director father, Gustav Borg, who has been separated from them for some time. Specifically, their mother passes, and he does come back to pay his respects. But at the same time, he also tries to get Nora, who is an actress and mostly in stage productions, does try to recruit her for his newest film and thinks she would be a really good fit for it. And this just absolutely does not rub her the right way, and she feels offended that he would try and weasel his way back into her good graces by offering her a film role, and specifically with how big of a production or a theater name she is, how much that would help their budget, and she feels used. And this kind of sets off this story where inadvertently, somehow, through a chance encounter, Gustav Borg meets a Hollywood actress, popular in America, named Rachel Kemp, played by Elle Fanning. And he and Rachel sit down and they talk about his newest feature, and he decides to cast Rachel in the part that he wrote for Nora. And this makes things really difficult and tense, and we watch these relationships play out. That's sentimental value. That's as much as I think needs to be revealed going into it.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on sentimental value?
So going into this movie, I was so excited because of The Worst Person in the World, the previous film with Joachim Trier and Renate Reinsve.
Right. Also me.
Yeah. Oh, you're the worst person in the world.
Person in the world. Yeah, exactly.
I love that movie. It was in my Letterboxd top 4 for the longest time. It's very rare that I rewatch a movie released like in the past 10 years or so. That is one that I've seen like 4 or 5 times.
Really?
I adore that movie.
Wow.
It's so good. So getting to see Sentimental Value and seeing that it was coming out and all of this and that it was nominated, I'm like, great. I love this director. I love Renate.
Love their work together.
Yes. So excited. Hearing about the story, like everything about this, I was just so excited for. And having watched the movie, it hits. Like, it is, pardon the pun, it's a very sentimental movie. The story is beautiful. All of the performances are deserving of their nominations. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna pivot much from what you said. I loved this. This was, it's interesting that we paired this with Secret Agent, not just for the international feature of it all, but also kind of a similar build of a movie. Both of these are well over 2 hours, and both of these have a unique sense of editing with their style. Yeah. And both movies, Sentimental Value a little bit more than Secret Agent, have a bit of a reveal towards the end that kind of give you the clues that you need for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I had mentioned this on previous episodes, but the thing that's really interesting, and I guess let's go ahead and start talking about specifically film editing. This movie is edited in a really specific way where it's honestly more memories. There's, again, mentioned on a previous pod, but in case you didn't listen, shame on you. These scenes are played, but then once that scene is concluded, it cuts to black, complete silence for at least 5 seconds. And then it cuts to another scene. And that scene is not necessarily connected to the previous one. Same characters, but it's not like, the next day or this happened. Like, it is just kind of a separate thought almost.
Yeah.
And they play in real time almost as thoughts and like memories. And that was very apparent to me, but I didn't understand why we were getting it like this and what kind of story was being told. Because it felt less like, well, this happens, so then this happens, so then this happens. And it felt more like how your emotions can be affected by that. Like, okay, yeah, I'm sure this bothers Nora that Rachel Kemp, this Hollywood actress, was brought in to a point where when Rachel Kemp enters the house with her father, she just runs out the back door just to avoid it all completely.
Man, I've done that in real life.
Yeah, I mean, relatable. And she runs out with a vase too. Just like, see ya. Yeah, I thought like I was interested. I'm not going to say that I love this movie throughout. Like, I think in the first hour, I was like, oh, this is okay. What are we doing? Like, let's see where this goes. But I'm not sure where we are. And there's something that happens later on, and we'll get to that point, that does kind of reveal intentions and reveals what might actually be happening. And it's not like this mind-blowing, like a Rival-esque like twist where you're like, oh man, what? But it does just give you all the clues, Mr. Policeman, as it were. Yeah. I don't know if that's a Snowman reference. People, yeah, of course. Yeah, that movie is well forgotten as it should be. But like, it gives you the clues. And that scene, I've seen it twice. And the first time, that scene knocked me out. And then the second time, I got to share it with Taylor. And we'll get to it later, but we both have a unique connection to that story or the narrative side behind Nora versus Agnes, that they share a scene. I think you know the scene I'm talking about. We share a connection to that, and we'll get to it here in a little bit. But I got to watch her reaction, and I got to watch how it hit her. And that's definitely the scene where it's like the make or break. If you love this movie, this is going to rock you. And if you're not into it, it's just going to be like, okay, what are we doing? Yeah. This is the Oscar highlight reel of people crying, sure. But there's so much more going on than that. So I loved this. One big thing that I want to say off the rip, we talked earlier about like score versus soundtrack. It's not nominated for score, nor should it be, because I don't believe there's any pieces in this that are unique or written for the movie that kind of stand out. But soundtrack-wise, this movie bangs. Did you like the soundtrack?
So here's the thing. This is a big deal for you in general.
Yeah.
You know a lot of music.
Sure. We're both musicians.
Sure. But
there's a guitar in here somewhere. There it is.
Yeah, totally. And this is true, but I think there's a big difference in like our connections with music, and sure. you are very like well versed in bands and just songs in general and music. Whereas I'll be honest, I'm kind of a closed-minded guy when it comes to music.
Interesting.
Which bums me out. I was kind of a punk in high school. But regardless, this is the kind of thing that really resonates with you a lot. I even remember when we talked about it after I had seen the movie, you were like, how about that last song? And I was like, what was it? I don't remember.
It was recall. A song.
Yeah. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you a single song that was in this movie.
Great. Let me scream for 10 minutes. So I'm not going to pretend that I know any of these artists or any of these songs going into this, and this is the importance of the music to me, and I think you'll hopefully you'll agree with this. To me, music is an intentionality. Like the reason that we put these songs in these movies isn't just because like, hey, this sounds cool. Like there's a reason for this. So the opening scene in this, there's a song playing. I believe it's "Dancing Girl," girl dancing, and it's like the piano that's kind of playing very softly. And that's when the house is introduced, and there's like a narrator. And I think the narrator might be the house. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there.
Sure.
Great house movie. Fantastic house movie, sentimental value. But then when the title card is about to drop, the needle drop there is "Nobody Knows." I want to shout out, this is by Pastor T.L. Barrett and the Youth for Christ Choir.
Nice.
I have had "Nobody Knows" in my head for like at least 3 months now after having seen that movie. It's just so listen to it again. It is like 6 minutes long. It's a little long, but so catchy. And it feels kind of like a Rolling Stones type, like the way they use a choir for "Can't Always Get What You Want."
Yeah.
Similar situation with this. I also really like the idea of, the house as a character in this movie. That's, something that has been talked about in a lot of detail. But specifically, the lyrics in that are "Nobody knows the trouble that I've seen." And I like that this can go both for Renata's character, Nora, and it can also go for the house.
Yeah.
Because this whole scene prior was talking about how the house, you think the house would hate silence, but it actually loves silence. The only thing it likes more is the noise. And it's seen troubled relationships, and it's seen death, and it's seen life, and the trouble that it's seen. I thought this was a great song for it. Also, again, song just bangs. The second thing I want to not shout out is the love theme from Spartacus by Yusuf Lateef. I think that's done really well in this, and it's just very like, I told Taylor, and I told you too, driving in to the pod today, it's raining outside, and it was like 10 a.m., and this song, love theme from Spartacus, while I was driving, was just like, I've ascended to a higher plane. Like, this is just like the music you're supposed to be listening to when it's raining outside and you're just drinking coffee, which, I was. So great use there. But you're right. The highlight for me, the thing that really stood out is, and we'll talk about it more in a little more detail later on, Canic Chase by Labi Cifre. For me, I am not familiar with this song prior. This is the first time that I've heard this song.
Yeah.
And it will always be the Sentimental Value song to me when I go back and listen to it. But lyrically, there's a lot in that. It's very pretty, and you can hear in the vocals, it matches the tone of that scene so well. And that's the thing that I really want to mention this the soundtrack for this for, is that it feels very intentional. It feels like there was I want to capture this feeling, I want to capture this sense in this song, and that closing scene is just remarkable. We'll get there. I don't want to start with the closing scene, but the soundtrack to this is just unreal, to where I think we kind of joked about this. If we did have an Oscar for best needle drop, a lot of people are talking about, like, how in One Battle After Another, there's, the Dirty Work by Steely Dan or American Girl at the very end of the movie. I think there's a few in, not like known songs, but like songs in general in Sinners.
Yeah.
I think Sentimental Value is a real contender for something like that because of the song drops in this.
Do you think the Oscars should recognize best soundtrack? It's almost like a casting.
When it's done like this,
yeah.
When it's done like this, I think so. I think, ultimately, it's interesting because we'll have movies like this where it's like, hey, you picked these songs that really did match the tone of the movie and the story so well, to where you could say, well, I was in tears at the final scene of Sentimental Value, and Canic Chase is a big part of that. But you can also say Edgar Wright deserved a nomination for Scott Pilgrim and like some of his other movies because of the way he puts together a soundtrack.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like fun quote unquote movies tend to do that. James Gunn is huge with a soundtrack. Quentin Tarantino's huge with the soundtrack.
I mean, one of the biggest calls out for me, and I'm so glad this conversation comes out of Sentimental Value, Baby Driver.
Yeah.
I think Edgar Wright's Baby Driver is so great because of the way he uses music in that. I think back to almost once a week, the scene where John Hamm, his partner in crime and in life at that point, died and was killed. And he finds, you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so happy. He finds Baby and his girlfriend. And at the time, Baby's listening to I'm never gonna quit. That just ain't my shtick. I'm trying to think of the artist.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, he's playing that song. And it's a song that is just like, how in love he is. But specifically when John Hamm hears it and he puts it like he confronts them and he grabs the AirPod out of Baby's ear and listens to it himself. And he hears the song's playing and it's right at that point. And he says like that line of like, he sings along with him, I'm never going to quit. That just ain't my shtick. And that's that whole like duality of that line.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like so cool to just kind of put like a song in there and have like double meaning for the different characters that are in there.
Sure.
So cool. And I think that's the importance of something like a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Hard to do because at the end of the day, there's multiple names and multiple labels included on a soundtrack.
Yeah.
To where like, where does that award go to? But it would be more like a versus a physical award, maybe like a dap me up brother kind of award of like my dog. Great job. Dap me up real quick on that.
I love
score.
that. It's on the red carpet, like in between, like during the commercials, this would be the one acceptable time where someone literally walks up and they're like, excellent job, dude. Hit it. Pound it.
I'm just the big dog award is what we'll call it.
Yeah.
It's just me walking up to someone like walking train and be like, big dog. He's like, oh, I got the award. Dope. Yeah, just wanted to shout out the soundtrack on that real quick. But I loved this movie. I had such a good experience with it. Yeah, I have a connection with it that we'll get to later. But I mean, where do you want to start with this? I've ripped the Band-Aid off with a synopsis, but
So Joachim Trier, right?
Yeah.
This is his third nomination. He had an original screenplay nomination for The Worst Person in the World, and he has partnered on just about every single one of his movies, if not every one of his movies, with Eskil Vogt, like you mentioned. Or at least Eskil, all of his writing credits have been partnered with Joachim Trier.
interesting.
I mentioned already, I love Worst Person in the World. I think that these two together are phenomenal screenplay writers. They're
Full stop.
They're great. Yeah, I mean, what else do I say to that? They're so good. It's hard for me not to talk about this movie and be like, and the worst person in the world, blah blah.
Yeah,
because
I compare it up and down.
I love it so much. But this movie in particular got him his first director nomination, and I think a lot of the times when you see multiple acting nominations show up in a movie, so much can be accredited to the director.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you're seeing 4 acting nominations and Trier get a nomination for directing.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice little I think the joke is the sophomore slump, right? Like when you kind of bounce back from something that's as prestigious as the worst person in the world, is it going to be as good?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Worst Person in the World yet, so I can't say it is. But the nice thing is how widely nominated and acknowledged this movie is.
Yeah.
And unless Worst Person in the World is just the best thing I've ever seen, then I feel like it's a good follow-up here, right? For sentimental value. So I'm very interested in going back and watching because I like the style of this a lot.
Yeah.
I mentioned editing. This is a very intentional movie. The dialogue, upon a second viewing, you watched it once, right?
Just once, yeah.
So upon a second viewing, when I shared it with Taylor, which, God bless her for sitting through, like, hey, do you want to cry? 2 hours and 30 minutes of a Norwegian film. You want to cry a little bit? She was a trooper for that. It's a very intentional movie. Specifically, the idea of, I talked about the memories, the songs that you put in there for the reasons that you do that. But seeing it a second time, there's little bits of dialogue that you pick up more a second time, knowing the like quote unquote reveal, right? And so much of it just feels so layered. And that's what I really like about it, is that it's not just like a story, but like he really did kind of layer it with these like memories and, intentions.
Yeah.
And much like I mentioned how like in Baby Driver, like that song can have like dual meanings based on the person who's singing it. Like these lines of dialogue can have dual meanings based on who says it and who receives it. And there's a lot of like, without giving too much away, there's a lot of Gustav saying like, hey, I wrote this for you. And the way that Nora hears it is that he wrote it because he wants to use her name to get the budget and get notoriety on his movie. And that's not what he's saying. But because he is so disconnected from being able to open up like that, he doesn't know how to say that any other way. And that realization when you watch it a second time really hits harder.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of how intentional this movie is across the board with editing, with the writing. And that's why I don't necessarily think that it's the front runner right now. But we said something previously on the past episode. I kind of want to have this conversation with you. Mm-hmm. And you said, do you think Secret Agent is going to take the international feature right now? And I said, yes. And that's because, selfishly, if Sentimental Value wins international feature, that has less of a chance of winning Best Picture.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that happen. Let's be clear. It's not going to. But I would really like to see it win Best Feature because it does, in my eyes, have a really good standing of doing that. We talked about how One Battle and Sinners and Hamnet probably have the top 3 chance of this.
Sure.
I do think Sentimental Value is in that top 5 spot. Whether it's 4 or 5, who knows? But with the casting nominations, with the amount of nominations that it has, with how effective of a movie this was, I would love to see it recognized for that. Now, don't get me wrong. If it wins any kind of Best Feature, whether it be international or Best Picture, I'm very happy for it. But I would stand by Sentimental Value in a Best Picture nom way more than Secret Agent at this point.
I completely agree. And I think so much of that can be attributed to the way that Joachim Trier can tell a story.
Yeah.
It is intentional. Like you said, everything has purpose and meaning in his movies. And that's a big difference than Secret Agent we talked about last episode. This is the exact kind of movie I'm looking for. And, I'll even go back as far as Frankenstein, when we were talking about how so much is done with color in that movie and what color represents. And that's almost the heavy-handed way of doing something like that. Whereas this is so perfectly subtle where you don't necessarily catch it on a first watch. It's still effective, but you don't really know why it's affecting you. And I love that I love a movie that can kind of grasp your emotions in a way that you're like, I don't know why this is happening, Then when you watch it again, you're like, oh, I get it, because it had purpose. Mm-hmm. That is what Joachim Trier is able to do, along with Eskil Vogt and the screenwriting, but also the directing, which is, what this whole conversation was about. He gets everything out of a screenplay. He gets everything out of just about every shot in the film. The way it's edited, the way music is utilized, the way that his actors perform. Again, 4 acting nominations. Do you want to talk about those actors?
Man, I would love to. I mean, like, specifically, we talked a lot about Renate Reinsve and specifically the role that she...
I love her so much.
She's so
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I'm just like...
I mean, let's talk
so
about
good.
her for a minute, because it really is her movie.
Yeah.
She is phenomenal in this. And the thing that I love so much about her is that I think when you hear Best Actress in a movie that's nominated for Best Picture, and one of the scenes, probably the scene that they're going to show for her highlight reel at the ceremony, is her crying and speaking with her sister Agnes in the bedroom. That's probably going to be the scene. And people are like, yeah, she's crying, fine. What's great about that is her performance is so subtle, and she has to portray depression in the best way possible, or in a certain way, to not make it seem too flashy.
Yeah.
And the subtlety that she brings to that, and the anxiety and the panic that she has earlier in the movie when she's like about to go on stage, is so well done. Because it's not this loud, like, let me scream and slam my fist. It really is just, let me run away and let me just get out of here. And let me like try and find some kind of humanity back by like, kissing my co-star or something, just to kind of feel something, or having them slap me, like something.
Yeah, like ground herself.
Ground her, exactly. Like come back to reality. And I think the performance she's giving is just otherworldly in this movie. And what's awesome about that, and this is why, again, this movie is just such a perfect little pearl for me, is whenever you see a performance that is that good, you're going to say, okay, well, then the cast around her is just going to be like, hey, it's your movie. The Disraeli of it all, right? Yeah. Like, let her take the reins on this. But in reality, everything is supporting the next person. And that leads to, I mean... Let's go ahead and talk about Stellan Skarsgård. I think that in any other hand, or most hands, this would be Stellan Skarsgård's movie. And this movie would be about Stellan Skarsgård and about the director who is aging and how he is trying to recapture, his relevancy and still make movies that he feels proud of. And instead, they kind of make him, almost a side character, but he really is like, he is accompanying the performance of Renate Reinsve. He's accompanying the performance of Inga Ipsdottir Lilius. He is playing off of Elle Fanning's Rachel Kemp extremely well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Elle Fanning here in a minute, and she's giving some like, girl, what is going on with you? Like, this is an insane level of performance from you. But the sadness and the cynicism and the crassness of Gustav Borg, you think would make him like this terrible character, but instead he's extremely sympathetic. There's specifically a scene later on, and I thought this was like a huge turning point for his character. I mean, this is the kind of guy, this isn't the scene I was talking about, this is the kind of guy who shows up to his grandson's birthday and gives him the piano teacher in Irreversible on DVD and tells him that the piano teacher is going to teach him everything he needs to know about women. That's just such a great, like, if you have Letterboxd on your phone, this joke is for you, my guy.
Right.
Like, hysterical. But like, he can have that scene, and it's very funny. And then he also has a great scene where he helps his grandson film some scenes, and there's the whole like him getting smashed on the head with like a hammer or something, but he's a little version of himself. Very well done. But then all of that is accompanied with that scene where he meets with his old cinematographer buddy.
Yes.
His old director of photography? Cinematographer, right?
Yeah. They're one of the same kind of.
Yeah. So his filming buddy. Yeah. So he goes to meet up with his buddy, and he's like, I'm making this movie. I got to get my buddy back. My guy who's filmed all my movies and everything. And he goes to meet with him, and they have this great reconnection. And he says, I've read your script. I can't wait to do this movie. I'm so on board. He's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Let's go get a drink to celebrate. And they get up, but his buddy gets up from his chair and grabs a cane and starts walking with a cane because now he doesn't have his steady hand that he used to.
Yeah.
And now he can't film the same way. And you see this realization on Gustav's face of like, oh, I'm getting older. And like people around me are getting older. And this isn't the same life that I've always lived. And these things have consequences. Mm-hmm. And now he has to start thinking about his movie. And he can't just be like the sentimental version of himself who's like, hey, I love my buddy and he's going to film it. He has to now be selfish for his movie. And he wants it to be the best. And he doesn't. Everything he's talking about is like, the camera's going to move with us, and it's going to move throughout the house. His buddy is saying like, well, hey, now with my like cane and everything, I'm thinking this movie can be done so easily on like just a tripod.
Right.
And we keep it still. And that's exactly the opposite of what Gustav is looking for. So now he has to choose between that sentimentality of like keeping his friend on, but the movie looking different, or the movie looking the way he originally envisioned.
Yeah.
And that scene is such an amazing performance from Stellan Skarsgård because it's the subtlety. And anything that he says, or anything that I just mentioned, isn't something he says out loud. You can see like the wheels turning in his head, and you see him saying like, yeah, you know, it's just the next scene that he's like having a drink with him, saying like, yeah, you know, Netflix is involved and they're just going to, the studio has to have a say, you know, they always want someone who they're going to recommend. And you can see, again, performances in this movie are stellar. I didn't necessarily mean that pun. Sorry.
Stellan.
A stellar Skarsgård. The performance in this movie is so good. His buddy looks at him and shares that look of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he just realizes it.
Yeah, like I'm old. Got it. You don't want me anymore. And then they just cheers and that's it.
Man.
And then again, like that editing, it cuts. And it doesn't let you sit in that scene. Well, it does make you live in that scene, but it doesn't move on very quickly. It just cuts to black for 5 seconds and lets you sit with it and then get ready for the next scene. And I think that performance alone is testament to why Stellan Skarsgård is nominated for this. I think it's why he's going to win.
Yeah, you think he's going to win?
I think he is. And he is so good in this movie. And again, it's that subtle performance, and it's not this like very loud, angry, like slamming your fist on a table scene. It really is just this subtle performance of a flawed individual. And I love that with Stellan.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's always, I love seeing a male character who is very shut off from the world, my feelings kind of thing, who has to portray those feelings in a way that is believable for that character. You know, you see so much, like you said, in his performance and so much emotion come from him, but in a way where you're like, this man doesn't like to show these emotions, but I'm seeing the tell. You know, I can peel back the veil and see exactly what he's feeling, and I love that so much. Not just in his performance, but I'm a sucker for that in general, so this just works on me completely. Something that I want to say, or just talk about real quick, you mentioned he has to choose between the sentimentality of keeping his old cinematographer or doing what's right for the film.
Yeah.
And I would almost flip that, where he is putting aside his stubbornness that he is known for in favor of the sentimentality of doing something for his daughter.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I think that's what's so cool is like you have this depends on how you look at it kind of thing, which just a throwback to how much we love the storytelling here. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, there's so much that you can just interpret different ways. And but let's get back into the acting.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, you're right. It's all about how they portray these things and the way you revisit them and the dialogue playing in certain ways, especially with repeat viewings. The second supporting category or nomination I want to talk about is Inga Ipsdotter Lilius as Agnes. So I think that I feel the same way about Inga as you did as Renata, towards Renata in Worst Person. Yeah. We were like, who is this person? She is incredible. Mm-hmm. And Renata is incredible in this movie. There's zero deniability about that. But there's something about Inga Ipsdotter Lilius in this role. And it's definitely like a build, right? Like she's a mother now, and she has a husband, and she's the youngest, or she's the younger sibling to her sister Nora. But she has her life moving in a forward direction. Yeah, and she has these things, but she's watching her oldest sister not be able to hold down a relationship or commit to what she really wants to do, and just kind of be plagued with the memories of what came before her, like, you know, her family history. And the subtlety of her performance, again, subtlety is something that kind of like exists in all four of these nominations. Yeah. But the subtlety in her performance is world class because she does get to act alongside Stellan Skarsgård. She does get to act alongside Renata Rensby. And these are established names. Stellan a little bit more than Renata, but like they are established names. And the fact that she can keep up with them and in some situations kind of outperform them is incredible. And I think when you talk about her role specifically, you can't not talk about the scene that she has in the bedroom with Nora, where she's pleading with Nora to read her father's script. Yeah. And you have this realization, and from this point on, we're probably going to get into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen Sentimental Value yet, I do suggest you go and watch it. But come back and finish this episode. Otherwise, welcome in, sickos. Where she reveals to her that the script that her father wrote wasn't about her mother or his mother. He's been telling Rachel Kemp, Elle Fanning, throughout filming this movie that it's about his mom and based on his, or, you know, it's based on his mom, right? Because theoretically the younger son in the movie is going to be portrayed specifically as Gustav, as a younger version of himself. Right. So Agnes presents the script and does her research, goes to the library and reads up on their grandmother and realizes that this is not the case. And that is not what's happening here. And this doesn't match up with the character. And in reality, it is actually that Nora is the main character in this movie. Right. And that he wrote this character after Nora because of her bouts with depression and her attempts to take her own life, or attempt to take her own life. And when Nora realizes this is when she starts changing her mind. But specifically, she has to start battling the idea of why she's plagued with this, but her sister isn't. And there's this incredible line where Nora says, like, why weren't you as affected by what happened when we were kids with our parents and everything? And Agnes says, I was, but there's a difference between how you were raised and how I was raised. And that's that I had you. And I had you to protect me through all of this. And that scene is gut-wrenching. Like, just an unstoppably emotional performance from both of them. But specifically, there's like cry acting is a huge thing, like how you're acting while you're crying, not just crying, but like the things you say and how you say them. Her cry acting in this movie is unreal, and she's so good. There's a scene specifically, or not scene, but a shot of her like looking at her sister while she's like red in the face and like she's tears running down her face. I can't stop looking at that because it's like a painting with how like much emotion she's giving off with just a facial reaction. So the MVP of this movie, really, in my eyes, really is Inga Ipsdottir Lilius. She is so unreal. Yes, unbelievable.
Which is so cool because she, of the four nominees, she's definitely the name that I'd say audiences are least familiar with at this point.
Yeah.
Again, Renata had Worst Person in the World. Stellan Skarsgård, Mamma Mia, never been nominated, but I mean, he's in so many things. The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, the Thor franchise, all kinds of stuff. Just, it's crazy that he's never been nominated.
I know. And he's able to show off the acting ability that he really has in this.
Yeah, you get to see him do something other than wander around Stonehenge naked, I think he does at one point in the Thor movies.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was his idea.
Yeah. It was, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Oh, I was like, that sounds familiar. But
I'd like to believe that it is his idea from what I've read about him.
Down. But, and Elle Fanning too, a big name. But yes, to close out Ipsdottir Lilius, just the name you don't know, that now you will know.
Yeah. Her performance is just otherworldly. And the main thing that we need to talk about with supporting role is Elle Fanning. And Elle Fanning, I just want to say very quickly, is very, very good in this movie. But specifically, one thing that I think is really interesting and that she does so well is that she has to play an actress who is very good at acting and really wants to take on this role. But she's so conflicted of what she's hearing about the role and the character and what she's reading on the paper. And she has to act badly.
Yes.
She has to give a bad performance reading the script that Gustav has given her because she has conflicting information of what's on the paper and what she's being told.
Yeah.
And to be good at giving a bad performance has got to be so difficult.
It's so cool. The nuance I was talking about with Stellan Skarsgård and playing the man who doesn't like to show emotions, but still you have to show emotions in that performance. That nuance exists in this performance as well with Elle Fanning, like you said, where she's a phenomenal actress. We all know this. And now she has to play someone who is so conflicted with, like, am I able to do this? Am I going to be good at this? Am I the right person? It's fun. At one point, she's like, should I have an accent for this? And then she has to, like, perform this role with an accent for a little bit. It's so much fun to watch her. I want to say, too, 2025 is the year that I was like, oh, Elle Fanning is great.
Yeah, she's cooking, man. She's doing this, Predator Badlands.
Dude, she's so good in Predator Badlands. I'm going to fanboy out a little bit. I went into that movie being like, oh, this will be fun. And then everything she did, I was like, wait a minute. Is Elle Fanning my favorite actress? What's going on here?
I do really like that whenever we do alien movies or Weyland Yutani is involved, people aren't just like, oh, cool, I get to be robotic, whatever. You get to have fun with like what the idea of what a synthetic is.
Yeah.
And like what kind of personality you bring to that. And I love that we haven't found like one synthetic that's just like, oh, cool, that's just, or one actor that you're just like, you're just doing this or this old other version.
Yeah.
You're doing your own thing and this rocks.
It's
and I love
cool.
what she does with her synthetic performance.
She's so cool. She's been acting since she was 3 years old.
What I really like is to mention whenever, like, especially from this point on, if she continues this kind of career and these kind of performances, that everyone's going to be like, Oscar award-winning actress Elle Fanning, who was first in Daddy Daycare. Like, I really hope that pops up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she's been acting since she was young. Obviously, her sister, Dakota,
Yeah.
a very large inspiration. She's been acting as well throughout all of this. So very excited about the performance she gives here. It's such a demanding and tough role.
Yeah.
But also the journey that each character goes on helps lend to another character getting to their part of the journey. And it's that intentionality that we talked about, where all of it feels so. It's not just that Rachel Kemp does feel conflicted with this and ultimately passes on the role because she feels like she's not giving it her all, but she kind of gives the release that Gustav needs to stop chasing this fake version of the movie that he wants to create.
Yeah.
He's having a little bit of fun with her. He talks about this. I love the scene where he walks her through the house, which is Nora and Agnes's childhood home.
Mm-hmm.
They're filming in that home specifically, so they're kind of kicked out of that completely.
Yeah.
More so Nora than anyone, since she's visiting at that point. But he walks her through and talks about, you know, the stool that she's going to use to like ultimately take her own life. And he says, like, my mother did that in this very room with that very stool. And Elle Fanning has this very like strong reaction to the stool and everything, and kind of like wrapping her head around it. And Agnes is like, did you tell her that you got that stool, the one from IKEA? That was that was the one that your mom used? And he's just like having fun with her. And I thought that was, again, great little bits of like humor that kind of like spurs through this, but he's having fun with her. So he's not trying to make the movie he wants to make anymore. He's just trying to salvage the situation.
Well, arguably, though, he's doing a little bit of, I don't want to say method, but he's kind of fueling her performance there as well.
Right.
He has that intention.
He very much doesn't answer a lot of her questions. He more asks her what she thinks.
Yeah.
And tries to get her to the point of realizing some of these things. But it's a fool's errand because, again, he wrote the character one way and he's describing her another.
Yeah.
So he's kind of setting her up to fail. Not intentionally, but like that's what's happening in her performance. So I love that each of these performances are so thought out and so expertly portrayed that if that wasn't the case, the movie wouldn't work. And the movie really is magic because all these performances are the perfect version of themselves and they work so well that everything just clicks so beautifully.
It's so cool. I feel like there are some movies that are just, wow, this is a perfect script and everybody has been casted perfectly and all the performances are perfect and you just... It might be my favorite type of movie, honestly.
I agree with you. I think it is. And it's kind of like the Oscar movie, but without like a negative connotation.
Sure. Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, what do you need? Well, everything. Like everything needs to be in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you that I think Secret Agent probably shouldn't have the casting nomination and this should.
Yeah.
Because this is just unreal what they can do with this cast. And it's casted perfectly. Because again, there's a difference between casting and cast. And yes, the cast is amazing, but the casting of someone like Elle Fanning as like the Hollywood actress, beautiful, like perfect. And she destroys this. So that was the right call. The way that the characters are written to kind of like accompany each other, that just lends itself to casting so well. So I kind of wish this was nominated in that category, but I'm not going to be mad at 9 nominations. Again, 4 of which are made up of the acting category.
Yeah.
Like just unreal to see that happen. We talked about film editing. We talked about director on this. I mean, screenplay. I think that also is kind of accompanied from what we've said here because these performances can only be as good as they were written. Mm-hmm. Something that I think was really interesting is that Joachim Trier was saying specifically in an interview that I listened to that he has 2 daughters. And someone brought up like, hey, film director who's kind of like grappling with the idea of how he's spent his life and how that affected his 2 daughters. It sounds like you're written from experience here. And he was like, no, no, that's just, I hope not. Hopefully that's not the case, but I found myself writing that way and I wasn't thinking about my own experience or my own concerns. I really was just writing it from a perspective of, you know, a father who had like failed at this thing and how he can get back to that. And I think it's really interesting because we'll jump ahead a bit here, but with the realization that Nora's depression has taken over the majority of her life and she had this experience where she did almost take her own life, her father doesn't know any of this. And she has told her father, they never had a discussion about it. But then reading the script and reading all these experiences and realizing that he wrote it for her, and this is my interpretation, I'm interested in your thought, he gave her the ability to experience what it would be like to take her own life and realize that's not what she wanted.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you fantasize about it or think about it, and do you think it's the right call? And how can I convince you that it's not? And the best way to do that is to give you the experience of simulating that without you doing it. I thought that was, on a second viewing especially, something that he wrote for her but could never speak into existence.
Yeah.
And her realization of that is gut-wrenching. And that scene specifically is just such a knockout for me. But the only thing more of a knockout is that the next sequence is just the scene of the movie. We assume at this point that she has accepted the role and she is playing this opposite her nephew, who's portraying Gustav at a young age.
Yeah.
And what I love about this scene is that there's no like, hey, let's reconnect. Let me tell you, like, hey, I read your script and I really love it. It just cuts to the movie, the scene that's being filmed. And another really subtle thing that I love is that what she does is, or the scene that we see her perform in that, Nora, is the same scene that Gustav was walking Rachel Kemp through. And you see her try to like dramatize it and make it like much more like powerful and like, you know, loud of a performance. But then the way that Nora plays it is the way it was intended. And that's that subtlety. And that's that, you know, I'm not plagued by these visions. It's just this thing that I'm feeling and just this like mindset that I'm stuck in. And you see this sadness in her when she lets her son leave and she's like preparing things and he comes back and she has to kind of like wipe those tears away. Mm-hmm. And I love this final scene for a number of reasons. One, when they say cut and they have the focus on Nora's face, but then the focus on Gustav's face, there's never an embrace. There's never any conversation that's had between them. There's no like happy ending that's like fully resolved. But you see in both of them that acknowledgement of like, thank you for giving me the ability to do this.
Yeah. And
thank you for giving me the opportunity to reconnect with you and see, like, I do see you and I do recognize these things happen to you. Of course, I see that. And I it's important that you stay. And you see all of those things without a single word uttered between the two of them. And of course, that's the scene that Canic Chase starts playing.
Yeah.
And that song, accompanied with that specifically, to me, as someone who has suffered from depression before, that is the best representation of a happy ending. Of like, you can't fix depression. You can't fix this. There is no way out. It's just going to always be there. But the connections that you make and the way that you talk with people and the way that you listen and be there and show up for them, that's what matters.
Yeah.
And that accompanied with like the very like saccharine, sentimental, again, sorry for that word, use of Canic Chase is so good. The guitar in that, his voice, the chorus just being him just saying la da da over and over. Like, there's such a simplicity to it. The lyrics in that, I'm thinking specifically, I've been gone for so long, thought I forgot my own song, but I'm back in the fight.
Yeah.
Like, that is depression. And that it's so subtly done in this without being like, depression, the movie.
Right.
That I was so floored. And like, I told you after this that like, I wasn't okay for like 2 days after watching this. And it wasn't like, I'm just so sad. It was just more like, you feel seen in that. You feel seen by that portrayal of depression.
Sure.
And I can't say enough good things about this. I would also like to just remedy this a little bit by saying, I don't know how I didn't include this in my top 10. Like, the way I'm talking about this movie is like it's my number one. And I just completely slept on it. And it wasn't until I watched it a second time that I was like, yeah, this is it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's one of those moments very similar to when we talked about Secret Agent, where hearing you talk about it and describe these things, admittedly, I enjoyed this movie. I didn't like it as much as Worst Person in the World, but hearing the specifics of the end of this movie spoken about out loud, I'm like, man, I really want to watch this again because I know that it's going to hit me that much harder.
I mean, that's movies though, right? Like, that's the shared experiences and like the different things.
Yeah.
Is like, we can see something in it that someone else can't. And like, sharing that with each other is the reason, to bring it back to Hamnet. Like, that's the reason we share these movies with each other, so we can open ourselves up to those experiences. And I appreciate you saying that. I do think it's really funny if you watch this a second time and you're like, Nah, Ryan was wrong.
I actually like this less. What are we doing here? Yeah, that would be pretty good.
But it's cool, man. You know, I think normally in other years, we've seen performances in movies where we just kind of have to talk and be like, yes, this was the performance where this person was just very loud, and this is like the most like screen demanding performance. So of course, you know, they're commanding performance. So of course they won for this. When in reality, we can kind of talk about sentimental value, and I think a similar level of subtlety in something like One Battle, where we get to just talk about how a lot of things are left to linger, and like that explains itself. And it doesn't have to be this very large, loud performance. It can be more to your something you have to piece together.
Yeah.
But unlike Secret Agent, it gives you everything. Everything is in this movie, and you just have to piece it together yourself. And I love that aspect of it, especially on a second watch.
Yeah. Man, I'm excited to rewatch it.
But it's tough. It's a 2.5 roughly hour Norwegian film about like the sentimentality of family and like depression. And you can't say it's depression up front because then it feels kind of strange, but you feel like you've pieced it all together, but you haven't. And there's little connections, and it's so good, man.
Yeah. It's funny you say it's tough, because I'm like, having loved The Worst Person in the World so much, I'm like, yeah, it's a Norwegian film talking about like depression and stuff. Bring it on. That's one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, I agree with you. But when I was like, babe, you got to watch Sentimental Value. And she's like, why? I'm like, well, and I guess I should bring this up too. With that scene of Agnes and Nora talking about like, you know, well, how are you able to get through this? Well, I had you. I'm the oldest brother on my dad's side, and Taylor's the oldest sister on her family. So we feel plagued by that idea of like, we're trying to protect the ones who come before us. Taylor, especially with her sisters, a bit more, because with Tim, I don't know if you've met Tim, I don't have to protect him. He's got himself all the time. But there's that like guiding sense of like, you're supposed to be like the beacon of like, you know, any pain that comes should come through me first and then them second.
Yeah, you're a shield.
You're a shield, exactly. And that scene between Agnes and Nora for Taylor was just like, she was kind of through the movie like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? She's like, is this the movie? Like, Ryan, what are you doing? But that scene was like a floodgate for her of just like, oh. And there's the emotion and she's crying. And that was the connection of like, oh, got it. She could relate to that 100%. And it was very cool to see that, you know, it's a difficult emotion, but to see that connection through a movie that wasn't just like, some movies, a lesser movie, would be more like trying to make you feel that intentionally and like hurt you.
Right.
And this is more coping with that. Like,
yes,
acknowledging it, but moving forward rather than just like, you should live in it because that feels bad and that's Oscar-y. Right?
Yeah. It's not trying to make you feel any particular way. It is telling this story.
Yep.
And this story is an emotional, sentimental journey. And those are my favorite kinds of movies.
Yes.
You're just along for the ride, and you are taking in everything that it is set out to portray.
Yeah.
Not to feed you, but to portray to you. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
I thought this was dynamite. And, you know, this is one of my favorite movies of the year, despite what my top 10 list says.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that we get to talk about something like this, not just in the international category, but one of the more nominated films.
Yeah. I think this has a better chance at Best International Picture than Secret Agent does, or at least it's more deserving.
I would be thrilled if this got the win, but I think that Secret Agent is more like, yeah, this is going to win international because there's no shot of it winning Best Picture. And I think there's more of a shot of Sentimental Value winning Best Picture than Secret Agent.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to win, but I do think it has more of a shot than Secret Agent does.
But you don't think that it would be like, oh, okay, well, it's not going to win Best Picture, so let's give it Best International. I mean, I guess the same could be said about
Secret Agent didn't have Brazil behind it and their collective, because they ride hard for their movies.
Yeah.
I would expect Sentimental too, because I think Sentimental across the board is a better movie and has better performances. Just everything you're looking for is in that. I'd like to see it win. Maybe it's nominations here that's, you know, kind of leading the witness a bit, but I don't know. We'll see. I hope so. I hope you're right.
Yeah. I hope so too, because I really like to
put down my predictions just yet, because I don't know where I stand.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
There's what you want, and then there's what you think's going to happen. I have to find that balance.
That's always how I fill out my ballots.
Oh, you do want and need.
Yeah. I found my old ballot from last year or the year before, which was funny. I looked at it and I was like, wow, I watch every single thing that's nominated every year, and I still get all of them wrong. Why do I do this?
That's because the Academy, that's the secret, Captain. The Academy doesn't fully watch everything.
Yeah, you're right. I should do what the Academy does. And
you should only watch a few and then be like, oh, cool, I'm going to vote on these.
I'll watch Sinners and like Train Dreams because it was on Netflix, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, whatever.
But it's Leo, so you have to watch One Battle.
That's true. I'm going to throw out a fun fact.
Throw it.
For the Best Picture nominee, the producers here were Andrea Berenstein-Ottmar and Maria Eckerhovd. Maria Eckerhovd, guess what else she produced?
Doesn't sound familiar.
The Ugly Stepsister.
Ooh!
Which also has a nomination
Wow.
this year. Just kind of funny. Makes sense. That is also a Norwegian film.
Yeah.
Nominated for makeup and hairstyle. You guys should watch that movie. It's pretty bonkers.
I'm very excited. It's on Shudder, right?
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Very excited that, again, horror got nominated the way that it did.
Yeah. I just thought that was funny. I was scrolling through. I was like, oh, what fun. Let me look up the producer. Oh, Ugly Stepsister.
Was that
very different?
Was that a Norwegian film as well?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense then. Wow. Very cool.
Fun. So, you want to get into ratings?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have mine pulled up here.
I don't.
Too bad. Pretty close. You
and I?
Yeah, you and I. I definitely need to revisit my rating on either this or Secret Agent because I also gave this 4 stars. And
Yeah.
I feel way more highly on this than I do Secret Agent. So I'm probably going to increase this. Let's say 4.5. I'm just going to go ahead and correct this real quick.
Gave it up.
Viewer log again. Thank you. 4.5.
Excellent.
I loved this movie.
Yeah.
It's probably a 5-star for me the more I revisit it, but I don't know what you can say that I haven't already said on this, but whenever you can give an incredible performance like this, let alone 4 of them, and again, Elle Fanning like being very good at acting badly.
Yeah.
And like not like in a I'm a bad actress sense, but in like I'm disconnected from this performance and I have to use incorrect information and what's on the paper to then give a performance that's false because I don't have the correct information.
Yeah.
What on earth? How do you write that? How do you like convince someone of like how to portray that? How do you portray it well? Like that's another game of I mean, you know this as an actor, it's a game of telephone. That like an impossible game of telephone that whenever a movie is really good, it's impossible. So when a movie is amazing, it's a feat.
Yeah.
That's something they can do that. So I absolutely love this movie.
I am so glad you love this movie as much as you do. Again, this didn't resonate with me as much as The Worst Person in the World.
Pretty close though. Yeah.
I think the more I watch this, the more I'll be like, okay, yeah.
That's how I felt.
I love this director. I love the partnership with Joachim Trier and Renata Ransby. All the other performances, too, were fantastic. Like we've said a million times. I gave this 3.5 stars, which feels low, but I don't really want to change my rating without having watched it again.
You should.
Because I when I walk out of the theater and I give that immediate review, like that's it for me. That makes the most sense. So I know that this will go up.
Yeah, and it's the same thing for me. Again, I did watch this twice, and I didn't log that second time. So this was like me logging that. I know, shame on me.
Yeah.
I did log that I watched Ella McKay this week, though. So
Oh, good
there's
for
that.
you.
Yeah, nope,
Well, you know,
not really.
fine. There's no iron lung.
It's, well, I'd argue it might be exactly Iron Lung.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're right. And you should revisit it for sure. I think your rating will update a bit more. A trend that we saw with Secret Agent, but I feel like it's more earned with Sentimental than it is with Secret Agent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Double features.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll start.
Yeah.
Mine's a little silly.
Okay.
It's very silly. I'm just going to go right into it. I went with Armageddon.
Oh. A story of fathers and daughters.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what it is. That's the only connection here. Your turn.
That's you weren't like super inspired by the ability to, instead of training astronauts to mine, training miners to astronaut?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
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 No, I mean, it's a story of father-daughter. And, you know, hey, I haven't been there for you the way that I should have been, but I'm going to do something for you and the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's silly. It's goofy.
The Canic Chase version of Armageddon is certainly I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I see what you're cooking.
I like Liv Tyler a lot, too.
I don't want it, but I see what you're cooking.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Liv Tyler. I love that movie, too.
It is a good movie.
One of the most, like, what do you mean this has a Criterion release movie?
One of the first Criterion releases.
I know.
Isn't
that was
crazy?
before they had a full understanding of what they were doing.
I think this deserves a spot in the Criterion.
Sure.
This movie, Sentimental Value, is also getting a Criterion release.
It is, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
I love the art style of it, too. I do also want to say, before I give my rating, if you go on Neon's website, you can buy, like, merch of the movies, like posters, T-shirts. You can actually buy a sculpture of the house of Sentimental Value.
Interesting.
Which is the most like, A, why did you do this? And B, how can I get a copy?
Yeah.
That I've seen in movie before. The last time I did something like this was with The Brutalist. The Brutalist, a number of things I could have bought that would have been absolutely unhinged. But there was the sculpture that he presents of the facility that he tries to build for the majority of the movie in The Brutalist.
Yeah.
A24 put that out, and you could buy the sculpture. And I paid for it, but then ultimately they were like, hey, we sold too many, and like we can't do this, so we're just going to pay you back.
Wow.
So I never got it, but I am definitely going to buy the model of the house.
The little house?
And then live in it. I think that's my plan.
That's beautiful.
And just play Nobody Knows in the background the whole time.
I like it.
We'll see.
I like it.
But go out there and buy that and support the movie because the art style on the Criterion release specifically is very beautiful. My double feature, I went with something that came out last year as well. I actually, in doing research for the Oscars and what I thought would be nominated, I ended up seeing this movie. And unfortunately, I saw it after Sentimental Value, so I kind of judged it based on that. I'm talking about Noah Baumbach's Jay Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Another movie about fathers and daughters, but specifically a father who is an aging
movie star.
Movie star. In Jay Kelly, movie star versus Sentimental Value, the director, but an aging Hollywood figure. And them looking back at their life and thinking of what they could have done differently versus what's the next step for me to get back on track.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I think this is why Sentimental Value did so well, but Jay Kelly didn't pick up as much. I think a lot of people saw through with Jay Kelly, like, okay, this is a little too saccharine for me. But there was more of the subtlety in Sentimental than there was in Jay Kelly.
Yeah.
You saw Jay Kelly, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. I think another movie that has an absolutely unbelievable final scene. But with Sentimental Value, that final scene unlocks so much in the movie, whereas the final scene in Jay Kelly, while it is amazing, and I do love that final shot and final line, is a little bit more of like a cute little that's all folks send off.
Yeah.
So not as great, but yeah, Jay Kelly. I think probably see it in order of Jay Kelly and then Sentimental Value. Although I hope maybe people don't feel the same way I do about Jay Kelly towards Sentimental Value because they're like, oh, that's just Jay Kelly.
No, I think they're very different.
Yeah.
In like your theming and your connective tissue there is excellent, but I do think like there's a reason Sentimental Value is nominated for Best Picture and Jay Kelly wasn't.
Yeah, I agree. Minus a fun performance from Adam Sandler, who I would love if there's a reality where Adam Sandler can get an Oscar for calling George Clooney puppy for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But, aside from that, those two, I think those two work well together and you should definitely pair those.
They do. Yeah.
Maybe close with Sentimental Value.
I agree. I like the other connective tissue there that Jay Kelly is a Netflix film and Sentimental Value, they're just making a Netflix film.
Great little line in Sentimental Value when they're talking about promoting the movie. When they say this movie's coming out on Netflix, is it going to be in theaters? And Gustav says, yeah, how else would you watch it?
Yeah.
Great little line.
Shout out to my man, Gustav. That is exactly what we needed to hear.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for Sentimental Value. If you'd like to hit us with your thoughts on this film, shoot us an email at outaaopodcast@gmail.com. I almost gave my personal email address. I don't know why.
Hit us up.
Yeah. Hit me specifically up, I guess. Check out the Patreon if you'd like to support the show, patreon.com/outaaopodcast. We still have the promotion going right now. If you give us a follow for free, no cost at all to you, you will get an invite to the Discord where we can talk about these movies firsthand. As soon as we see them, we'll just hop in that Discord and be like, yo, what's up? I saw Iron Lung. But you can do that there.
I feel like the way they write that is definitely going to have those pauses in it too of like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
I just saw Iron Lung.
Quivering voice of shame and sorrow. And yeah, rate and review the show, do all of that. We're almost to the Oscars.
We have 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
2 more episodes to get through before we start talking about... I mean, I wanted to talk to you about whether we would see an additional episode or maybe a bonus episode of Final Predictions.
Yeah, I think we should plan to do a prediction episode after the 10th movie that we cover, which will be Train Dreams. We'll throw in right between that episode and the Oscar ceremony episode.
Beautiful.
We'll put together a prediction episode. It'll probably be shortish and sweet. I'm going to just assume. I don't know. We'll see.
No, you're right.
But
I think it'll be like an hour long or anything.
No, yeah. So, yeah, that's all I've got. As always, I'm your host, Kyle.
And I know it's been hard for you. I recognize myself in you, but you're so damn angry. It's hard to love someone who's so full of rage.
And we'll see you at the movies.
Trying to find another pasta term, like a amalanya lasagna. I don't know.
Ooh.
That actually worked, but I was trying to...
Yeah, that was really good. I'm already recording.
I had a feeling, yeah. Amanya like lasagna is, yeah.
Oh, that's different than what you just said.
Unfortunately, that is now going to be a T-Pain lyric. Isn't that okay? He's okay, right?
Yeah, but I don't like the context of that.
Yeah, but he sings about sex all the time. I mean, I'm in love with a stripper. She whined and she grinded.
Manicotti.
Uh-oh.